My name is Thomas Johnson. Today's date is January 23rd, 2003. On September 11th, I was in my office in 2E541, which, if you're looking at the side of the building where the plane came in, the air traffic control tower just to the left of it is where we were. We, like a lot of people, had seen, we heard that there were, about the attacks in New York. We had TV in my boss's office, and so we went in and we had about 30 people gathered around a TV right there, and we're right on the outside ring watching. We watched the second plane go into the World Trade Center, and we were quite, everyone's starting to there's thousands of questions and what's going on and what's happening. And we had in my office, we had a number of contractors who were SOF veterans, special ops guys. And one of them started saying, what if this is like a Tet offensive? What if this is not just one attack, but, maybe somebody ought to call building security? About 30 seconds later, there was just a tremendous shake. I was thrown to the ground. The partition wall next to me fell over on me. And people started screaming. A lot of our special ops guys started screaming, everybody down, everybody under the desk, under the desk. And immediately the smell of jet fuel and the smoke was everywhere. We were about 90 to 100 feet away, depending on who you listen to. But the plane went right by us. And so we're all jumping under desks. Our admin sergeant was 5 months pregnant at the time. And I saw her, and I pushed her under a desk, and I told her, Barbara, we're going to get out. It's okay, because there was just screaming noise everywhere, and there was just, it was loud, but it was calm at the same time. Everyone was very orderly, but you could hear screams everywhere. But I told Barbara, we're going to get out. God's going to get us through this. We're going to get home. We'll be home tonight. And so they waited a while to make sure there wasn't going to be any more explosions, and then we started. The order came, get out, get out. So I grabbed Barbara, and we jumped up under the desk, and I waited for another woman in my office, and the two of us helped kind of didn't carry her, but just kind of helped her get out of the office and started moving down the hallway. And things were quite orderly. For the amount of smoke and jet fuel that was around us, it was quite orderly, I remember. But there was confusion on which way to go. Some people started saying, no, go this way, and we had just about gotten to one of the river entrance doors where they said, no, go back the other way. So we headed up towards the courtyard, back towards the A-ring. And that was the first time we started seeing injured people. And I remember seeing a gentleman whose face was just completely burned. And we could see out the windows into the courtyard. We could see the smoke coming back up from where our offices were, and the smoke was coming down the corridor, but just thick, heavy black smoke rising. And for the first time, it was, wow, whoa. I think we knew right away what had happened, but it still was, it didn't seem real until I saw that smoke. Barbara Sylvia and I eventually headed out the north corridor, the north parking, and we came out and we prayed for a bit just for safety and security. And then we came along, the child care center was evacuating, and it was just mass pandemonium. Did not have enough people for the amount of kids, in a normal situation that is, but when you're trying to evacuate hundreds of children. And so I said to the other two, are you guys up for it? And we said, yeah. So we volunteered our services and just said, hey, look, how can we help? And they just said, grab some hands. And so we started walking out together towards we just kept heading further out and further out north parking, down towards LBJ Park. And it was just a sense of, this isn't real. This just can't be real. But thankfully, having something to do, having to play with these kids and keep them entertained and try to explain to them what was going on, kind of kept your mind from really accepting or dwelling on what was going on. It was very neat when parents would come along. These children were in the Pentagon daycare center, so Pentagon parents were coming along and grabbing them. But then it started worrying, oh Lord, what's going to happen if some of these kids don't get picked up? And there was one little boy who was a 4-year-old who looked very much like my two boys. And I kind of gravitated towards him. And he was getting later and later, and he wasn't being picked up, and he wasn't being picked up. And we finally had to leave. The time came for us. It was a good chance to finally get out. And the guilt I felt about leaving them and leaving that little boy behind has stuck with me for a while. And, maybe still now. We eventually made it out to, Sylvia had her car, and we made it out to the parkway, which was completely empty, which was a very strange thing, and then got right onto the Beltway, right onto 395, headed south. And then we finally got our first real view of the building, and it had already collapsed by then, because this is 2 hours later probably. But it was a very scary thing, and we made it down to Sylvia's house in Shirlington, and we were watching TV now like the rest of the world. It was very surreal, because here we were 100 feet away from it a couple hours ago, and now we're watching it on TV like it's something completely foreign that we had no attachment to. Couldn't use the phones, couldn't find Barbara's husband because he was out looking for her, but we couldn't get through to anybody. It was strange. I could only get through on long distance. I could call my parents, who called my wife to tell them that I was okay and where I was. And eventually by 5 or 6 that night, Sylvia's husband drove us home. What is this, the long term? What has this done to me? It's made me a lot more careful, a lot more, not careful in the sense of physically careful, but just intentional in things that I do, and worrying about people and taking care of people. It was a very strange situation to think that I went through that, but didn't really go through that. And so it's made me much more aware of my own mortality, and my faith, and what I believe, and my eternal future is secure, but made me for the first time in my life, relatively young life, made me aware of my mortality. I pray that something like this doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, it probably will, but I just pray that we can have the same sense of unity that this country showed afterwards that we had. We can have that then that we had then. I just thank you for this time. It seems like just wanting to talk and wanting to say things, even 18 months later, there's so many emotions and raw feelings that just can't really seem to feel that I can get them all out, or ever will get them all out. But there will be a bond with those people that I went through forever, and will just be, once again, a surreal, was I really a part of that? Was I really that close? It just can't seem to be real, but it was.